Barbara, what is your stand on future land trust applications of the Shakopee, Manitowoc, and Sioux community?
Well, my stand is pretty clear on that, and unlike my opponent and the City of Prior Lake, I have not changed my position on the deed of trust issue with the Shakopee Sioux. I remain opposed to past and future applications to transfer land into trust status, thereby removing these acres from the county tax rolls and increasing taxes for all other Scott County citizens. We were at a meeting last week with the Citizens for Accountable Government. They said in their research that the city government of Prior Lake estimated a few years ago that Prior Lake residents are already paying an additional 15% in the real estate taxes because of the tax-free status of tribal trust land. The Sioux community has been very successful in their commercial enterprises. They now own almost 2,300 acres of land in fee, plus an additional 215 acres of trust land. There is no need to take this land off the tax rolls, requiring taxpayers to subsidize commercial operations of the tribe. They are not building on land that is not in trust. My opponent has said in the past that they must need the land because they're building on parkland. They're building on that parkland because it's in trust. They pay no taxes on it. And if they buy homes on a piece of property, they level them. So now they have vacant land. And I checked with the county auditor today. And I also think that Mr. LeMair used very poor judgment when he did not remove himself from the discussion at the City of Prior Lake level when the city changed their position on this. His wife is the adopted daughter of a current tribal member who is also the former tribal chairman. And when your spouse or a member of her family has potential for financial interest in an issue, you should remove yourself from the process so that you avoid any possible conflict of interest.
Thank you, Barbara. Chad, future land trust applications.
Thank you. Well, I guess I don't believe that I've changed positions. In 2005, Prior Lake was given the opportunity from the standpoint of a trust issue to remove their opposition to the land going into trust. And at that time, I said that I would support the land going on trust based off of a need. Now, Commissioner Marschall doesn't believe that the Shakopee, Manitowoc, and Sioux community deserves to have parks on their property, I guess, because I personally witnessed them cutting up their parks and putting homes on it. So I felt that it was important that they have land that they can develop their housing because they are a growing community. They are still growing. So from the standpoint of what I would do in the future, I would oppose that land. I do not believe, as I said then, that they would be able to justify it for additional housing needs. Now, I guess from the standpoint of keeping an open mind and being able to listen to all sides, I could not sit here or sit there then and say, listen, this is for sure the only way that it's going to be for me. Because part of doing this job is keeping an open mind and being able to overcome obstacles and communicate with people. I think I can do that. Now, as for the future of trust land, let's go through the process. In 1994, the Shakopee, Manitowoc, and Sioux community purchased the land that is still not into trust, theoretically. So 12 years ago, in 1996, they actually applied for that land to go into trust. In 2005, the City of Prior Lake actually took their opposition away. And in 2007, Scott County took their opposition away from the standpoint they did not appeal the decision. That land still is into trust. From a standpoint of whether I think I'll ever see this on my plate again, I doubt it. That's a 14, 16-year process that it took to get to that point. I believe the Manitowoc and Sioux community is a good community partner, and I think that having a good, trusting, working relationship with them is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Chad, do you support the county's proposed land use plan?
Well, I do, and I'd like to take part of my 2 minutes on this to just touch on a couple other subjects from the prior question. I think that it is important for me to say from the standpoint of Commissioner Marschall pointed out who my father-in-law is, that my wife is an adopted daughter of him on the tribal land issue. And my wife was adopted by Leonard Prescott as an adult. It was important for him to do so in case something ever happened to him. She was taken care of from the standpoint of anything that he has to be split up. We don't get any per capita payments from the Shakopee, Manitowoc, and Sioux community. We've never been paid anything from them. So for Commissioner Marschall to say that I should remove myself, my father-in-law had no interest in that land. He's not eligible for a land assignment, and I don't think it's relevant in the conversation. So, as for the land use plan, I think it's a great plan. I think in order to be able to develop your future roads, to put businesses somewhere in the community, landowners must know what's planned for the land. So this gives them the opportunity to know where they should be moving from the standpoint of a planning standpoint, and it also gives future businesses that are looking at Scott County a solid plan to develop their future plans.
Thank you, Chad. Barbara, support for the county's land use plan.
Yes, but I'd like to piggyback on the comment since he did. The reason that that is still in court is because Shakopee's still fighting it. And I voted to appeal that. So I just want to set the record straight that I still think that the reason it's taking so long is because there's still someone out there in the appeals court not being willing to sign off. As far as the comp plan goes, there are 4 categories that we covered in the comp plan. And they deal with all the areas of the county. It is a flexible plan, especially for ag. It gives people who own farmland, large parcels, the ability to develop it when it's appropriate. There are land rights in effect for these large parcels, and we have done farm tours, talked to the farmers. They seem to be very satisfied with the plan the way it is because there is flexibility. When we talked about doing the comp plan, there were people involved at every level. It is not just a land use plan. It involves how does it affect people. And we had open houses, we had maps, we had people draw the land, draw their comments, and in the urban expansion areas, it really gives the cities the ability to provide services to the areas around the cities, plan for stage development, and make it available when it comes. So that if there is an opportunity, the services are there. So it really does cover more than just land use.
Thank you, Barbara. Barbara, what should the county's role be in protecting the environment, and is the county doing enough?
Environment seems to be a really important aspect of government and for people. We have instituted programs for the Water Management Organization, which really have followed state statutes. We work with the environmental areas not only for development, environmental impact statements, and EAWs, worksheets, environmental assessment worksheets, where we look at a platted area to say, how is this development going to affect the environment? We work with the Watershed District for projects. We tour their projects and educate ourselves on what they're doing to improve water quality, to improve air quality. Our household hazardous waste facility has been very successful, where we have recycled tons more of materials than was ever expected. We have a reuse room where people can come in and get materials for free that have been discarded by others because they don't need it. So it's a way of recycling and reusing materials that would otherwise end up in the landfill. And we have an environmental health department with dedicated staff who really keep up with the state, national standards for water quality, for air quality, and for pollution. And I know that they are heavily involved in regional committees, bring back that information. And I know that the Sioux community also has a very good program, and they work together on various projects. They are stewards of the land and provide good information for our staff, and they work together on various projects. So I think that in the area of environment and land stewardship, protecting the environment, we're doing a good job.
Thank you, Barbara.